Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Tiffany Cresswell-Yeager, and this is my partner, Ken.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ken Schneck.
And we're here today with an on-demand professional development series from the Faculty Council. So I'm going to turn it over to Ken.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Tiffany. We have designed these, Tiffany and I, on behalf of the Faculty Council to give everyone brief introductions. We know that everyone is super busy, so we wanted digestible information that actually is useful and can help you out. So in less than 30 minutes, we're going to give you some great ideas that we've come across. We've actually surveyed members of the Faculty Council for ideas that have actually helped them in their daily practice to make things easier as a faculty member. So we bring this to you all. We have in the chat bar, we have links to all of the different things we're going to be talking about. And if you get in touch with us, we will certainly make this all available to you. So with that, we will get started with our first idea. And actually, Tiffany's going to take it away on this one because this is an idea that Tiffany actually engages with.
As I was sharing with Ken earlier, I commute about an hour and 25 minutes to my campus. So I spend a lot of time looking for podcasts that are entertaining, but also educational. And one that I have found that I really like is the Teaching in Higher Ed podcast hosted by Bonnie Stahoviak. And she's a faculty development and productivity expert. And as you can see from the screen, there are a lot of topics. So you can search by topic. She has a blog. And one of the things I love about the podcast is in every episode with the experts she interviews, she does a recommendation segment where she recommends books or other podcasts or apps or tools to use to help make our lives more productive and also just happier and better all around.
Nice. And I love that I was looking at this before, Tiffany, and there are close to 300 episodes on there. So this is not a fly-by-night organization or a new podcast, but a lot of ground has been covered.
Right. And like she often has the experts in the field related to all of the things that we're doing in really engaging students. And I really like the tools. She's writing a book right now on productivity that will be available, actually may be available already. And the other piece that I really like is her commitment to accessibility. So all of the podcasts are transcribed within about a week of when they are uploaded.
Nice. And apparently responsive too. You can ask a question and it will be read on the air.
Yeah, I have had several, as a new faculty member, have had several opportunities where I've had questions, and I just reached out to Bonnie and said, one of them was related to faculty interviews and how to develop your topic for your teaching demonstration. And she said it on the air and then provided some insight. So I really find it to be a useful tool.
Awesome. Thank you. So I don't know have you used Trello before, Tiffany?
I have not. I'm really interested to hear about this.
Trello is amazing. So Trello is one of the tools that I use both in, and I should probably say, I am a professor of education at Baldwin Wallace University right outside of Cleveland, Ohio. I'm also the director of our Leadership in Higher Education program. And I use Trello both in my director role as director of the master's program, but also in my faculty role. And I find when we're having tasks or group projects, this is one of the most useful tools out there. You just stroll on over to Trello.com, and I did a little screenshot for everybody so you can see it really presents the information on different tasks happening all at the same time in a way that's very digestible, in a way that we can access that's eye-pleasing as well, which I appreciate. And so you can have a number of different tasks happening at the same time, a number of different conversations. And what Trello does is organizes them in a way that everybody's able to access much more easily. So, for example, with an intern who works in my office, a graduate intern who works in my office, when we have 6 different projects happening at the same time, it just makes it a lot easier to manage. We can post messages on there. We can share updates. You can certainly link it to your email so you are getting updates when there are things on there. But I so appreciate one-stop shopping, a place that I can go for all different things happening when you have different projects. And then it's equally beneficial in the classroom, particularly for students who have a group project, which many of us know, I would suspect all of us know on the faculty, can sometimes go awry when everyone is not communicating. This eliminates any and all excuses for people saying, well, there was just too many conversations going on at the same time, because Trello collates them. So most definitely check out Trello. That's over at Trello.com. So the bulk of our time, we're already on idea number 3 of 6. We're flying for you all with useful ideas. The bulk of our time, we're going to talk about the ACPA and NASPA professional competencies rubrics, which seems like, well, gosh, that's a really heady and large topics to talk about for a life hack. But quite frankly, in my work, and I will give a little bit of background on my relationship with the competencies and rubrics. In my work, it has given me intentionality and application that I simply did not have before I was exposed to the competencies and the rubrics. But let me take you through kind of, if you are not familiar with them, the competencies or the rubrics, let us take you through them very quickly. So, the purpose of the professional competencies that were developed by NASPA and ACPA are to inform the design. Oh my gosh, I'm going to be one of those people who read slides, but I'm doing it. Inform the design of professional development opportunities for student affairs professionals. It's just the background on them. The competencies provided outcomes that are incorporated into the design of curricula and training opportunities. And then the last one was to guide practitioners in making choices about professional development. The idea was that we're all working at different institutions, doesn't matter if you are affiliated with NASPA or ACPA, that we're all engaged in similar type work, but we needed something that tied us all together. So as you will see now in this next slide, there are all of these different areas that the competencies fall in, 10 different areas: advising and supporting, social justice, leadership, and these code into our work of NASPA. They code into our work of faculty members. They code into work if you're working with the ACPA. So all of these different areas. For many of us, these different competencies code directly to courses. So I teach an ethical leadership course. I taught that last night. So you can see there's a competency solely on leadership. If you're teaching history and philosophy of higher education, it's right there on the 4th one, values, philosophy, and history. So they really do code to all the work that we do. And the problem is, when the competencies were developed, no, you'll see that right in the next one, was, okay, great, they're competencies. What do you do with them? So I was vaguely aware of the competencies, but then I was asked when I was first on the faculty council a few years ago, could I be on a team that helped develop rubrics for the competencies? And if you do not know me, you would not know that I am not someone who's very good at the assessment side of the house. It is not my forte. And so I said yes just to push myself. And very quickly, I became a total convert to the rubrics and the process of the rubrics. So let me show you what they look like. So the purpose of the rubrics that we developed, here we go, were to describe skills, knowledge, and dispositions associated with the competencies. That it wasn't enough to just say, hey, here are things we all need to know, but that we develop rubrics that make them easy to understand, and here's the key piece, actually use. The competencies were seen as a nice thing that we had, but what do you actually do with them? So here's what you can do with them. This is an example. So here's the social justice and inclusion rubrics, right? So we know that there's a social justice and inclusion competency, but again, the question being, in a life hack way, how do you actually use it? So this is just one line of the rubric that we developed, that NASPA and ACPA developed for the social justice and inclusion competency. Here's one line of the rubric. So this one is about understanding of self and navigating systems of power. So you can see on the left-hand side, those are dispositions. We developed dispositions, which, quite frankly, that's a whole different webinar that we probably should be doing solely on dispositions in our field, because we need to talk about them more and more. But I will focus on this. The rubrics are divided into 3 categories: foundational, intermediate, and advanced. I've been told not to call them beginner, intermediate, and advanced, but quite frankly, in my head, that's how I think of them. And what they do is they take the competencies and they actually show how people can move from one level to the other. That it's not enough to just have the knowledge, but how can we actually test if people are gaining the knowledge to move forward in their development of these competencies? I think there's one more example, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so here's another one. So this is the values, philosophy, and history competency and one line of the rubric. So this is just about historical foundations. So you see underneath on the left-hand side, there's a disposition. So if you are a faculty member doing heavy work with disposition, we provided dispositions for each line of the rubric. So each line. And you see there, okay, so are people able to synthesize the profession's history? That's at the foundational level. And then as you move to the advanced level, well, that's where students, and quite frankly, faculty and staff as well, are demonstrating visionary and forward thinking in profession based on historical context, right? So we're really trying to take the competencies and use them, make them useful. Specifically for our work as faculty members, here are some ways that we can do that. So we have curriculum development. If you are engaged with other faculty members in the process of looking at your curriculum, and I'll combine the first two bullets of curriculum development and curriculum review, whether you're developing your learning goals and outcomes, whether you're engaged in an external review process, whether it's part of accreditation visit, the rubrics can actually help you. So I know for me, I had to develop the assessment plan for the Leadership in Higher Education Master's Program at Baldwin Wallace. I took the rubrics wholesale, and the program outcomes that were developed 10 years ago before I started at Baldwin Wallace coded exactly to the rubrics. And so I didn't have to sit there and develop rubrics for assessment of my entire program or my entire curriculum. They're already there. Truly, I cut and pasted them, and everyone was really impressed on campus because they know that I'm not a big assessment person, that I developed these rubrics, which I didn't. They're already provided. That's why it's a life hack. On our syllabi. So can we put on our syllabi not just the program outcomes, but ways for students to evaluate, did I move from the foundational level to the intermediate level? So that's really helpful because we want movement in these courses. And you can develop papers within specific courses, whether it's papers or exams or however you measure, however you assess students' learning, you can use the rubrics. Even doing self-assessment there, I habitually check in with my students, hey, on this particular rubric for this course, do you feel like you are moving forward? What would enable you to do that? What do you need to do on your end? And what do you need me to do on my end to support you moving forward on those rubrics? For your culminating experience, whether you have a thesis, a capstone, a portfolio, or some other amazing thing that you do that is supposed to, right, at the end of their experience, we're supposed to be showing some growth. Well, what can we use to show growth? The rubrics have actually helped me with that as well for the capstone that we do at Baldwin Wallace. And then the last one is promotion processes. They can certainly provide, the rubrics have provided consistency for faculty members who are in the same department. But here's a secret piece. I also think that they're great for faculty who are not in our department to learn more about our fields, because there are any number of faculty who know absolutely nothing about what it is that we all do. And I've found that the rubrics are a really nice access point for those faculty to understand what it is that we do. So again, I have completely drank the Kool-Aid of the rubrics, and I was not someone who you would ever say would be using these in daily life. The rubrics have actually made my job easier, both as a faculty member and as the director of a master's in education program. So I'm a convert. Was that convincing, Tiffany? I was hoping it was convincing.
Absolutely. And it's funny because I'm also not someone who relies on rubrics. And when you first started talking, I thought, yeah, now I'm inspired by this. I could really get on board.
I talk about it constantly, even in contexts that have nothing to do with any of this. My family would like me to stop talking.
I think, I hope everyone who watches this or can use this information realizes that our goal really was about useful tips and tools, things that actually work. We spend a lot of times in meetings on things that don't actually impact our daily lives. And these are things that can actually impact the day-to-day.
Why are we trying to reinvent the wheel on some of these and come up with rubrics to assess when they're actually there? They were developed by people in the field, both faculty, senior student affairs officers, staff at all levels, which was really nice. People who were coming in at the hall director level, right out of a master's program, all the way up to, we had senior VPs participating in this process. And again, the idea was that the rubrics would be useful at all levels. Why am I going to sit there and write my own rubric when they're already there and developed for our field? They've actually made my life easier.
awesome.
That's perfect. So I'm almost embarrassed to say that I don't use this as much as I should, because I was only started surfing through it a few weeks ago. For people who are really looking for different syllabi idea, the ACPA Syllabus Clearinghouse is wonderful. So you can see there, that's a quick snapshot. And again, right over there in the chat toolbar, and also it will be the last slide in this presentation, we have the link. But this is a collection of syllabi, and I am always looking for new ideas. You might be like me in that I teach the same 2 courses every single fall. I teach the same couple courses every single spring. The content sometimes changes based on like my public policy course is going to change all the time, because who even knows what's going to happen in any given week. But, you know, for something like ethical leadership, for something like student development theory is probably one of the best examples. I'm always looking for new ideas, not just for my students, but also for me as a member of the faculty, to inject some energy into what it is that I'm doing. And so the Syllabus Clearinghouse can be helpful in 2 ways. One, it can give you those new ideas. And again, you can see how it's organized, really organized by course. Or it can confirm, and I don't want to discount this, you will go on there and see an idea in someone's syllabus that you will say, I would never do that. And it'll make you feel really good about what you do. Not that their idea is wrong. All of our ideas are great. We're all different types of learners. But at the same time, it can really confirm. I looked at some ideas on student development theory and some of these syllabi and thought, well, I could never do that. But it gave me fresh eyes on my own syllabus to see how I could tweak what it is that I do. So I have found this to be extraordinarily helpful. And I would also make a pitch for uploading your own syllabus on there so that we can all support each other. So the Syllabus Clearinghouse is a wonderful resource provided right there on ACPA's website. This is another one that I had never heard of before we put out the call to other faculty on things that they use. Have you used this before, Tiffany?
I did in a previous institution. When I was doing academic advising, I used Calendly to schedule advisor-student meetings, but I haven't used it recently, but I'm actually excited to learn more and check it out.
So they have new features on there, and I think advising appointments are a great example. I won't out anyone at my institution, but let me just say that the professor who has the office next door to mine definitely still has the piece of paper up on her door, as many of us still do, for students to sign up for advising appointments. And holy cow, that's a mess, particularly even for the faculty member who has to now go in and look and see if that has changed. Because you can build your schedule around that piece of paper, but if you are not at your office 24/7 when students have access to the building, you don't know that they just crossed out their appointment, wrote a new one, and will send you an email and saying, why aren't you here for this new appointment that you didn't know about? So I'm a big fan of pens and paper, but I have now become a convert to Calendly, and some of our colleagues absolutely swear by it. And it has a number of different functions there. As you can see, I did a little screenshot there. You can scroll over to calendly.com and check it out. And they have nice tutorials there. I was playing around with the tutorials. So it's a way to do one-on-one meetings. I love the round robin feature, where if you have a team of different people or different faculty, it will automatically distribute them. So for example, for our work, for those of us who are sharing as advisees, this is one where if my colleague is overloaded with advisees, round robin will automatically distribute them based on availability, priority, or equity, which is wonderful, because we should probably also do another webinar on workload, because that's an actual issue. So the round robin one is a great one. The collective one is a great piece, especially because many of us are using different. One of the great things about Calendly is it can pull in, I think it's like 6 or 7 different calendars. So no matter what everyone is using, it can search all of these different calendars. So that's helpful for the collective piece as well as the group piece. So again, when we put this out there, a call to our colleagues, they swear by Calendly.
Well, and I think something that excites me about the prospect of this is, so I teach primarily online, and my students are all over the country. or actually in other countries as well. So scheduling can be really challenging. I teach in a doctoral program with a lot of scholar practitioners or professionals. So they work till 5. They might go into work at 8 and they might be in a different time zone. This is something that I feel like might save me, because right now I'm scheduling meetings all different times, back and forth emails, they're calling. It feel like it might be able to be a little more efficient if I use something like this.
Yeah, again, I'm such a fan of one-stop shopping. So a feature, an app that really incorporates in a lot of different calendars, because I would say right now I have 4 different calendars and it's annoying. So I have integrated them all into Calendly. It's been great. I really enjoy it.
Awesome.
Oh, did I totally skip a slide? I hope I didn't. There should be also a slide on CSP Talk, which I might not have thrown in there, which is totally fine.
It's, information and support.
Yeah, exactly. So it's part of the supporting each other. And we did put the link in the chat. So I apologize for that. There wasn't a good image to throw up there, but if you are not part of CSP Talk, you absolutely should be part of CSP Talk. And I think it's a really common thing that happens when we switch institutions, that we forget, oh, wait a second, we have to resubscribe to CSP Talk. So this is specifically for faculty doing what it is that we do. And I just find it does a couple different things, right? You can certainly put questions out there and people respond really quickly. So I call them discrete call for information, in that it's very contained. There often are larger conversations maybe happening on CSP Talk about larger issues that are happening in the field. I remember when we were having conversations about the national deadline for notifying student affairs programs of April 15th and how people were handling that. But then there are also habitually discrete questions of, hey, this new piece of legislation came out. How are people talking about this in class? Or I'm really looking for a visual element for online learners to talk about public policy in higher ed, this very specific piece of public policy. What are other people using? Is there an app that would really help with this? So it does both large overarching questions, but then also discrete questions. And then I would say the other function that it serves for me is, even if I'm not someone who posts on it, I don't know that I've ever sent an email on it. I just do a lot of reading on it, but it makes me feel less alone. As many of us are in these one-person shops as I am, I have other adjunct faculty members, but I'm the program director and the only full-time faculty member. So barring going to a conference, which can be very expensive for people with small professional development budgets, I have found that CSP Talk really has helped with connecting me to other people in the field, and quite frankly, the emotional piece of making me feel less alone in this work. I academically know you're all out there, but it's really nice to see these emails come in of people really engaged with the material.
Well, and I want to add, so I'm a new faculty member. This is my 2nd year here. Now I have 2 decades in administration, but this is my first stint as a faculty member. And I think CSP Talk helps with imposter syndrome, right? So the questions that are being posed are things that I might also want to know. And I don't, like you said, feel so alone or so inferior to the process. It really has helped me feel like we are all fighting and challenging and working with the same kinds of issues.
Exactly. Yeah, and we'll go back to our cute picture of supporting each other. I think that this is a big piece, and it honestly is one of the faculty hacks that we want to leave you all with, is that, again, whether you are just starting out, you've been doing this for a while, you're a one-person shop, or there's a ton of you working in there, we're all trying to do this together, and we do it in different ways, but we're all looking for ideas. And so many of these tools, whether it's on the listserv, whether it's uploading a syllabus to the clearinghouse, whether it's sharing the rubrics with somebody else, engaging in these conversations. Again, conferences are amazing, and go to the conference. But at the same time, that's not something all of us are able to do. And so we wanted to present you with some ideas where you can engage with the rest of us throughout the year. We have some ideas to share, as we just did, in way under 30 minutes, but we also know that you have ideas, and we want your ideas as well. So we're so happy to present just a few ideas for you in a very short amount of time, given how busy we all are. Again, with the rubrics, with Trello to help you organize tasks, all these different syllabi going down at the clearinghouse, the amazing wealth of topics in the podcast, the immediacy of the information over at CSP Talk, and getting your life in order with Calendly, whatever it might be. These are some ideas we have, but we want to hear your ideas as well. So get in touch with us, stroll on over to naspa.org, and you can easily find the Faculty Council. We're always looking for new ideas. Moving forward, we're going to be offering some webinars that are more course specific. So if you're teaching diversity in higher education, we're going to get some speakers out there, faculty members who are doing some really cool stuff in their diversity in higher education courses, in other courses, to again, give you ideas to make your life easier. That's what we want to support you. So sounds good, Tiffany?
Absolutely, Ken. This has been a blast.
Awesome. Thank you guys for listening. Again, send us your ideas, use these, send us any questions, and thank you for doing all that you do.